Tony Kurre live every Monday through Friday morning between 7:30 and 9:30 on Thursdays. Dr. Josh Klapow joins back in because the Omicron crap and changes and evolution and everything else in our lives. We have not had him in the studio in a while, but we will get him back in here. We have some big things that we're working on. Dr. Josh joins right now on the phone. What's up, brother? What's going on?
That picture on Twitter was so altar boy-ish.
Did you like that?
Yeah, now let me ask you, did you pull that from your personal inventory?
I was sitting down here last night doing Livewire Wednesday, and I was rocking out, and I got all these papers, and, I went through a divorce, and I got all this crap that I want to get rid of because I'm a purger. I hate if I've got something, like old pictures and stuff I'll hold on to, but I got everything in one box. And so I started going through some pamphlets and stuff, and I started finding some old pictures of some things, and I saw that, and I thought, ooh, I look pretty good there. So I went and took a picture of it and I posted it. Yeah, that's from about 10 years ago. That's my Facebook 10-year picture.
Really? That's only 10 years ago.
What the hell's that supposed to mean? Yeah, it looked like it was more recent.
No, you got rough. It's been a rough 10 years, dude.
Dude, I know the last 3 years have put about 50 years on me. I started growing a goatee a couple days ago.
Yeah.
So when you got gray hair, I'm 55, and I was vain. I started putting some color in it. But I mean, when your face starts to sag and you start getting wrinkles and your hair's still brown, it's not a good look. So I started looking at some old pictures, and I said, what old dudes look really cool? And all the old dudes that I saw look cool had a flavor saver. And I realized that it's been out for like 20 years. But like rock and rollers, like if I had an earring and a flavor saver, I could pull off the old because I'm still cool as shit looking. So I'm growing a flavor saver, and it's all coming in gray. I'm like, God bless America.
Okay, so
it's terrible.
Don't pierce your ear. Like, don't go there. Okay?
No, I'm not going to go there, but I am going to try the flavor saver. And and my daughter, who of course thinks she knows everything, she's like, "Please don't do that, Dad. That's not cool." And I'm like, "You don't have any idea. Like, you're not the one looking for, you're not looking for the next Mrs. Curry. I'm not looking for Mrs. Right. I'm looking for Mrs. Right now. You know what I'm saying?"
Yeah, I do.
All right.
I do. So listen, the good thing is, number one, you have hair because you know that I'm hair challenged. Number two, the gray brings a sense of wisdom.
Whatever.
Right? So you have the flavor saver. That's good. And then, like I said, number three, the earring thing only works if you're like, well, I was going to say Damon Johnson, but Damon's got a head of hair that like could rival Valerie Bertinelli.
That's true.
So
that's true.
Okay. All right.
I did the earring for about a week, and my dad said, "You're moving out unless you take that damn thing out of your ear," and so I never put it back in.
That damn thing.
So I read this story a few minutes ago, and I wanted to rub this off, and we also want to get in this Quinn app. When I read about the Quinn thing yesterday, it's just a perfect show for you and I to talk about relationships because it really shows a lack of engagement on the guys. I'm not saying that this Quinn app thing's not a wonderful platform for women who are in healthy relationships. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that this is pointing in the direction that guys are really missing the boat here. So we'll get into that in just a second. But for the first time, the Federal Trade Commission came out yesterday and announced that women have been scammed for over $1 billion on dating apps. Usually it's around $200 to $300 million a year.
Yeah.
They've been scammed for over $1 billion. And the big thing is obviously if you're online, and I'll go beyond, Match.com and Tinder and any of these dating apps, Farmer's Daughter, whatever. We'll go Twitter, we'll go Instagram, Facebook. Anytime you have some type of interest with a particular person, it seems to be going swimmingly. Maybe you haven't even met that person. Maybe you get excited in the morning because you check your phone. Ooh, did they message me this morning? And you get a little excited and you start feeling like you're 16 again. And then dudes start asking for cash. And I was mentioning, women are cerebral. Guys are more instinctual and visual. So we're the dumb ones here. And women are smart enough that they realize that they shouldn't get scammed when a guy starts asking for money. So they came out, the FCC, with a list of things that say whether they're scammed. First of all, if you're meeting a guy and you haven't already fallen in love and say you're together for like 6 months or more, right? And you know the guy's been in a tough situation and maybe he's getting back up on his feet. I don't know what a situation is. That's a little different. But for the most part, anytime a guy asks you for money, he's scamming. Stop right there.
Well, I would say anybody, listen, not just a guy, anybody who you're not in a long-term trusting relationship with. I mean, I don't care whether you're dating them or not. Like, if they're asking you for money within the first 6 months, there's major red flag. I mean, again, unless, God forbid, an emergency or whatever, nobody should be asking you for money in a relationship in the first 6 months. I don't even care what kind of relationship it is.
First of all, loser, because I mentioned this earlier.
Yeah.
The guys have two things that validate us: our wallets and our penises. We love our penises, and hopefully we can take care of you in that aspect, and then we want to provide for you and be able to. And I mentioned the fact that when you're meeting someone on an online dating thing, and if you are a guy and you're broke and you're kind of embarrassed by that, we've all been in that situation. You can go to a park, you can take a long walk. You don't always have to start with a $150 dinner. You wait, you don't go out and buy a $6,000 lawnmower when you get your first yard. You start small and you build up, right? And you want to make an investment in that relationship, and maybe women feel that way. And I think it makes women feel good that they can provide for their guy. Maybe they've never been asked to do that. So here are some of the scammer clues. First of all, if he professes his love too quickly for you. It's amazing how many people just want to be loved. But if a dude's telling you, or he accidentally, I love you. Oh, I didn't mean to say that. If a dude does that in like the first 3 or 4 weeks, it's scammer alert. Claims to be from the U.S. but is overseas for business or military services.
Yeah.
Asks for money and lures you off the dating site. If you're on a dating site and that's where you met the dude, and then all of a sudden he's like, let's get off this site and start our own thing. We can start texting each other. Use that platform because that way it can be documented. Claims to need money for emergencies, hospital bills, or travel. Listen, I meet people, I realize life is not fair, and I realize that we all have problems, we all have issues, right? But if I'm getting into a brand new relationship with somebody and they're already unloading, I've got skin cancer, my mother's in the hospital, I've got all these issues, I'm waiting on this inheritance, I'm having fights with my brother. I don't want to get into the drama. I'm like, you know what? You settle yourself in, you get your shit together, and then maybe we'll hook up in a couple of months. So that's another red flag. And plans to visit, but can't because there's always an emergency.
It's so funny. What's so funny about that, Tony? Like, I always just say this because we can go a broader recommendation because when you and I get together, we do the best relationship recommendations. I don't care if they're trying to scam you or not. If they come forward with let's just say 2 or more of those things, even if, I hate to say this, even if it's completely true, some of those things are just relationship red flags. Mm-hmm. Like that's not something you want to be jumping into, even if it's totally legit. It's a particularly in the first, whatever you said, like in the first few months, if all that stuff's happening, and more importantly, they're relying on you. It's one thing if they just sort of say, all this is happening in my life, and you can say, oh, I feel terrible for you, whatever. And they're, no, I can handle it. But if they're starting to rely on you on that, they're either scamming you or, I can say with all due respect, and I would not want to jump into that relationship. Like, keep your distance and your boundaries.
No, and I'll make this really simple because men don't ask for help enough. We always know that guys don't ask for directions. We always want to try to figure out, and that's the sign, quite frankly, of a real man. That's a guy that's probably got his stuff together. He wants to learn for himself. He wants to figure it out. He's got the lawnmower totally torn apart in the garage, and he wants to rebuild it. I get that. But a real man in a relationship, I'm talking an intimate relationship, a relationship that will further along with a woman or a man, will never ask for money. Ever. No man will ever ask for money.
No woman should be. Again,
never.
Think about it.
Now, you could be in a relationship and you realize that maybe he's starting a business or maybe he's down on his luck, maybe he's having issues, and then it's up to the woman then to offer. If she says, I believe in this and I feel comfortable enough with this guy, and we've known each other long enough and I know enough about his drama and his backdrop and all this, and then but a man, and listen, ladies, a man that you've met, that you're having some type, and I say intimate relationship, that is, you're dating each other, a man will never, a real man should never ask you for money. He may he may throw things out. He may throw some things out. I'm a little tough, but blah, 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 blah. But he'll never point blank say, hey, can you help me here? It just doesn't happen.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, but a woman should also not do that. Like, if you are two adults in a relationship and it's the earlier stages of an intimate relationship, you're not married, but you're sort of moving past the first date. I mean, hell, if they do it on the first date, run fast. But what I'm saying is either side, Tony, if I'm a guy and I'm with a woman and we've been dating for a few months and she's asking me for money, I'm putting the red flag up because again, you know, with the exception of maybe some horrific exceptions and situations, an independent person should not be asking another person for money in this situation. I don't care whether you're a man or a woman. Like, it's just, there's a lot of other people you can ask for money than the person you're dating.
I've got a friend of mine on Facebook. I've known her for over 30 years. She's a sweetie. She's a single mother. She posts probably way too much stuff on Facebook about her personal life. She's always talking about, and she used to be a cheerleader. She's super attractive. She's in her 50s. She never seemed to find the right guy. She's always hooking up with these losers. She'll post something, I finally met the perfect man, blah, 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 blah. And 2 weeks later, it's like, I got screwed again. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know what I was doing. She reached out to me about a year ago and said, I'm really having a difficult time and I really need $500. Okay. And it bummed me out because I'm like, I said, look at you. I mean, you got, she's a hairdresser. You've got everything in play. And again, I don't know her well enough. I only knew her from Facebook, but I used to know her really, really well. I used to work with her. And I was like, wow, because, you know, I correspond with her maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks. Yeah. And she's asking me for $500, and of course, and of course, I was married at the time, and I'm like, you know, this is a bad idea. This would not go over well. This would not look good for me to be giving someone that looks like you $500, and it bummed me out. And there was this disconnect, and it got really uncomfortable, and I haven't talked to her since. Yeah,
well, that's what I'm saying. That's not even a, if you will, intimate relationship.
No, it wasn't.
What?
It wasn't at all. It was just, I mean, it's maybe something that could have turned into a relationship because everyone knew I was on the outs with my ex, but I just was like, that's not the way I wanted it to start, because once they start asking, I don't think it's going to end. And I really wanted to help her because I know she's a good gal, but I was like, you know, you're just going to have to figure this out, you know?
Yeah, it's just, it is hard. But what I would say is, if they're asking you, unless they're on the verge of something, you know, something, death, being kicked out, just something horrible, the first thing I'm thinking is, number one, to be honest with you, why me? Like, and in some situations, they have literally nobody else. Yeah. And if I can check off that they have literally nobody else, then I am lending money. But let me say this, I am lending money non-contingent on that relationship. The second I'm lending money, I know that relationship has gone from, it needs to go from, in my mind, sort of an intimate, connected bond to helping out another human being. And in some ways, it probably brings our relationship down to a lesser level intimately, but that's just a choice that I make.
Dr. Josh Klapow, my best friend, my radio partner for over 5 or 6 years. He joins us here on the Kurre and Klapow show on Thursdays, where he plays later on tonight between 6 and 8 o'clock right here on Tony Kurre Radio. All right, so when you're in a relationship and things are going pretty well, and you think that you're giving your mate all they need emotionally, physically, and everything spiritually to make the relationship as healthy as it possibly can be. And a lot of people aren't perfect in that area, but we're willing to learn, right? And so women have always wondered for years, why do men have to look at porn? I give it to him whenever he wants. I keep myself up. I work out. I think I'm a great wife. I'm a great mother. And why in the world would my husband want to go to a strip club, or why is he looking at that particular porn site? Maybe he's looking at Instagram models or following things. That's weird because you feel like you're not giving your man everything he needs. You've got everything here. Why would you have to look anywhere else? For the same reason that guys always wonder why in the world, and we've said this a million times, don't look under the bed because you ain't going to like what you find. There's lots of women with shoe boxes full of all kinds of toys, and you're like, well, why would she need that? I got this right here, and she's with me. She's with her husband. She's with a man who loves her. He can talk to her while he's being intimate. Why would she want that? Now, I understand that sometimes, and men are like this too, sometimes you don't have a lot of time, and you just want to please yourself quickly. Sometimes maybe you feel more comfortable being alone and you just don't want to be with your mate. I get that as well. I also understand that 50% of women don't get the big O because it's a mental thing. A lot of women can have an orgasm when they're by themselves, but they can't when they're with their husbands or their boyfriends. I get that.
That's sad.
it is sad, but it's real, I guess.
Yes. Yes.
And so this, and we talked about this, was it last night or the night before? This is a brilliant idea because for years, women have read romantic novels. Guys read Penthouse Forum, women read romantic novels, and we'd always wonder, why are you reading a romantic novel? It's usually a woman who's not in a relationship, and maybe she just wants to get away, and she likes the verbiage, right? The audio porn app called Quinn has been founded by the Snapchat CEO, Sis. She's 24 years old. She's very attractive. It already has 300,000 subscribers. It offers erotic content geared towards women only, founded in 2019 by 24-year-old Caroline Spiegel. It was created to give women an alternative to the standard visually dominated porn that is normally consumed by men. Like Peloton, the app invites users to create their own content and submit 10-minute fantasy-based audios that are like the kind of good sex people want, in quotes, which is designed to make you orgasm. Some creators can earn as much as $5,000 per month, submitting stories which users can access for $2.99 a month. Creators also have a landing page similar to that provided by Spotify so listeners can develop loyalty to particular contributors. It does not violate any company rules banning things like non-consensual sex, rape, incest, sex with minors, or zoophilia. She said, it's more about how I think it's empowering to be turned on by content is made ethically and genuinely very hot. It's not watered down. It's not what people think women want. It's made directly in response to what women want, and that is something new. What does this say to guys?
I love it. No, I told you this before, like when we were talking, like I'm all about like fabulous, innovative business ideas, right? And that's why we do Adapt or Perish on Tuesday on Tony Kurre Radio. Mm-hmm. But I think it hits a mark. It doesn't say, what does it say about guys? It doesn't say anything about guys other than, what you were saying in the beginning. Look, people are complex. And no, you can't necessarily do everything to please a woman completely. That's number one. Number two, there's a great lesson to be learned for you. Like, instead of feeling, insecure, upset, like you said, defensive, what's the matter? I'm not good enough. No, you're not. No, you're not. And maybe you should listen to this to listen to what turns me on, because you may not be able to replicate it perfectly, but you may be able to up your game a little bit. So I think that's what it says to guys is you are missing a piece, and you may not be the perfect substitution, but man, you may be able to up your game a lot by listening to this. And can I just say one other thing?
Yeah.
Which I thought about this after we talked. Tony, this could be a new avenue for you.
Yeah.
Because you got the pipe. Like, people don't want to hear my voice. But dude, you could do this. We talked about this before. All you need is someone to write you a script.
Yeah, all I got to do is go to my box in my closet and pull out some old penthouses from 1983 and start reading Penthouse Forums.
Well, that's plagiarism. We can't do that. But you can just reword this up. No, I think I don't have a problem with it. I mean, do you have a problem with it?
No, I think it's a brilliant idea, and the fact that 300,000 women have already signed up for it means that there's a need for this. That the thing is listen, I realize guys don't always want to put the time and effort into what it takes to have a good, healthy sexual relationship, right? Quickies are fine, that's great, but if you're having a quickie once every 20 times, that's fine. It happens, and sometimes women are into it, and sometimes they can get there super quick. That's great. But I find that whenever I've been in an intimate relationship, and I've been as guilty as the next guy, because the minute she touches my shoulder, it's on, and I can't wait to get her clothes off. I can't wait to get on top of her. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to go nice and slow this time. I'm going to really give her everything she needs. I'm going to be engaged with her, and it's going to last at least an hour. And 10 minutes later, I'm out. I think she's been pleased. I've been pleased. She's lying there going, what the hell just happened? But I mean, when you sit there and have conversation and you talk and you bring up things that turn her on, and maybe it's something that, you know, I used to date a woman, or I was married to a woman who took yoga. And I explained to her one time about how she was out in the front yard and she was doing these yoga poses, and it was turning me on. And it worked brilliantly because we were talking, you know. It was great. Yeah.
Stop, you just said it worked brilliantly.
It was worth the 7 minutes of conversation to get her all fired up, because then everything else kind of fell in place. Let me ask you this. Ever a red flag in a relationship if you know that your man or your woman is going elsewhere for sexual fantasies, or to at least be pleased at all? Listen, 90% of guys masturbate, the other 10% lie. We know that's true and that's the reason why God made our arms so long. And we also know that a lot more women masturbate than they'd ever allude to, and guys, oh, my woman doesn't she don't need to do that. Why in the world would she want to use that when she's got me in the other room? Well, maybe it's because you can't get away from the football game. You know what I mean? I don't know what the situation, but is that ever a red flag?
Red flag, no, but it's a cue. It's a wake up call. It's a pay attention, you know, and because it's not a red flag, because it doesn't mean that like something's terribly wrong. You just said that in the beginning when we started talking about this. The fact that she's pleasing herself, either in addition to being with you. Now, I would say this: if she's doing these things and y'all are not doing anything together, then that's a red flag. But it's a wake up call. What it says is she's getting pleasure from another source, and assuming that other source is not another person, there is nothing wrong with that. But what it should be saying to you is, you better get curious. And this is a conversation starter. Hey, I noticed that you're listening to this thing. I noticed that you're using these toys. Talk to me. How does it make you feel? Why does it feel good? I want to understand more what pleases you. And let's talk about it. Listen, we've talked to our friend Missy about this. The number one most important thing to do, and the number one most uncomfortable thing to do, is to talk about sex, to talk about intimacy. It's awkward. But man, once you get over that hump, now you open the lines of communication. So if she's doing that and you're going, wow, I had no idea, then say that. Don't be accusatory. Don't do what's the matter with you? But be curious, because it's like, I don't want to say, dude, it's your portal into understanding what turns her on. Stop making some stupid assumptions like you know everything. It's not your body. It's her body. It's not your mind. It's her mind. And it doesn't take away from your ego, your manlyhood, or anything. In fact, you're more of a man if you have the balls to ask her about it.
All right, I'm on Quinn right now.
Are you signing up as a creator?
You know what? I am going to do this. I am going to, because I can do it anonymously. And if I can make a couple and you're right, with this voice, maybe I can finally put my voice to it and just turn the lights down low and just whisper like this. And she came walking into the room, and I noticed that she was walking with quite the large gait, because you're good at this. Give me a call. Shy girl, our first time getting romantic. Apple cream pie, wet January, happy holidays, cozy up, great outdoors, strangers in love, wanderlust, and daddy are some of the titles. We could do this.
Oh, some of the titles, those are the creator names?
Yeah, those are some of the stories that you can read. I can go 10 minutes. I could talk 10 minutes. You think I should do it off the top of my head, or do you think I need to write something?
I think I would try it two ways, to be honest with you. Because I've watched you do live. I watched you also sort of tape things. I think you should write something out. I really do. Because you're used to reading copy.
Yeah.
Now, it's so funny. We're doing this on the air. This is you and me. This is classic Tony and Josh. I really think you should write it out, because I think you should sort of get a feel for how you do this, because I don't know how long they need to be. And I could see you just giving your background in radio. Like I could see you doing a 30-second one, right? Which doesn't.
And you know what's super cool about this? And then we'll move on, is it's not visual. And we know that women are more mental than guys, and guys are visual. We see a tan-looking bus, and we can't stop looking at it. We know it's a bus, but it's so tan-colored, we just can't stop looking at it. The fact that this is purely, and I hope it does not go visual. I don't want this to be, because there's too much of that already. We already know that us guys think by sending dick pics that we're going to turn women on. It doesn't work. Why are you doing? Well, you. When we're together, you think it's fantastic. She doesn't want to see a picture of your pee-pee at work at 12:30 in the afternoon. Stop. I don't know why guys always do that. I don't know. I don't. Now, guys love pictures. Well, you can send me a picture of your cooch anytime you want, but guys sending pictures of their wiener does not work. But the fact that this is purely audio, to me, is amazing, and I think I've got something here. I'm dead serious. I'm going to get on it today. I'm going to make it work. I think
we have got a good creator name, like The Bone.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. And I'll be anonymous through the whole thing. All right, finally, our good friend Pamela Anderson. She filed for divorce from her fifth husband. Sources say because he was unkind, unsupportive, and a dick. The Baywatch bombshell is filing for divorce in her native Canada. Her rep confirmed to Page 6 yesterday, where she and her now estranged husband have been living since they wed on Christmas Eve 2020 on her Vancouver Island home. Do you remember how this happened? He was her bodyguard and a contractor. Oh, yeah. He was like a landscaper at her home. They were stuck in quarantine, and so he was there every single day. And she said back in 2020, I finally met the man for me. It took me to be forced to be with a man to realize exactly what I needed in my life. A source close to the doomed couple said things were initially blissful. Initially, the pandemic, being quarantined together, ultimately took its unromantic toll. Dan turned out to be a dick to Pamela. He was unkind and unsupportive. After spending 2 years living every second with someone, you get to know them better for worse. This is
Listen, stop. That's a great backdrop for your first story on Quinn.
Oh, yeah. The landscaper, the pool boy?
The landscaper to Quinn. Landscaper, Vancouver, yeah. Right? There every day. They're watching. Oh, Tony, that's a perfect narrative for your first Quinn story.
This is a great story, though. Yeah. There's a great line here because I talked about the market over the last couple of days. There was a correction in the market, and I think there's going to be a bigger correction coming. It's just been blowing up. Everything corrects itself. Volcanoes correct themselves, markets, tectonic plates, everything eventually has to correct itself. It goes back down, then it builds back up again. Slot machines correct themselves. Everything corrects itself, and humans do it too. So I think during this pandemic, this is a wonderful lesson to be learned that your new normal may not be the normal that you think you're stuck in. We have gotten these, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do with my life. We have the mass resignation. Oh my gosh, I've been doing the wrong thing my entire life. This is what God wants me to do because of this unprecedented, weird pandemic time we're going through. And love is one of those things. And it works the opposite way too. I hate her. I can't believe I've been stuck with her for so long. Things were so great when we were going to work every day, and now all of a sudden I just can't get away from her. Just check it back. Give it some time.
That's the Tony Curry line I was waiting for.
Yeah.
That is classic. It is check it back. You can feel it. You can think it. You can sort of sit with it. But man, check it back before you take action on, I must change my life. I must change my relationship. I'm so in love. I hate my job. Like we talk about this all the time. You can think it, let it come into your brain, and then do what Tony says, which is check it back. Just check it back, not check your thoughts back, but check your actions back.
It'll be there for you when you're ready. But we've had a lot of people in this world are having all these mini epiphanies. Oh, yep. I never knew how much I love gardening. I'm going to invest in a landscaping company. And it's like, okay, do you have a business plan? Do you have it together? And a lot of people are like, wow, I didn't realize how much I dislike this person or how much I love this person because we've been stuck together. And you can see that. And that's Pamela Anderson's fifth divorce, by the way. All right, one final thing I want to get into. And I don't know if you saw this because the Louis Anderson news came out, the Meatloaf news came out. Do you know who Peter Robbins is?
Yeah, it's ringing a bell, but help me.
Charlie Brown committed suicide last week.
Oh no, the voice of Charlie Brown?
The voice of Charlie Brown. He was the voice of Charlie Brown in Charlie Brown Christmas, also Thanksgiving, not to mention 6 other Charlie Brown shows. He was 65. He killed himself last week. And it really kind of affected me more so than Meatloaf and Louis Anderson, because when you come in the studio, what do I have hanging on my walls? I got a Snoopy picture. I got a Charlie Brown picture. Charlie Brown is the most fluid, beautiful, wonderful piece of Americana we have here, even more so than Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, because everybody watches Peanuts. Kids love it. Adults love it. It's part of who we are. It's super clean. Charles Schultz is unbelievable. We've all been Charlie Brown at some point. We all have friends that are like Linus and Lucy and, think about what and so it's kind of like, and then I come to find out this guy, Peter Robbins, had some issues. He was bipolar. He had bipolar disorder. He was in trouble with the law. At one point, he was put in prison for several years because he stalked his then girlfriend and her plastic surgeon after he bought her breast augmentation.
This is all of you're ruining your. I mean,
I know, right?
The suicide's horrible, and I did not know this. And you know what's really interesting is that this did not make as headline as we would have thought.
No, it happened last week.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, you don't compare one death to another and the loss. And people are real hesitant about talking about suicide. But my God, and he was 65. That's not common. Suicide's common in the elderly, but just given not only the suicide, what you just described, what a terrible, troubled life. Oh my God, it's ironically poetic, right? We see Charlie Brown as this most.
I know, right?
Oh my God, dude! You just blew my mind and ruined my day.
Because Charlie Brown always figured it out, and it was usually because of his friends and family that supported him and got around him. He always missed the football, and so this is not the way Charlie Brown's supposed to die. And I realize that Peter Robbins isn't Charlie Brown, but this guy, man, I mean, he could be at the World of Wheels. He could be making millions of dollars a year just being as the voice. Now, I don't know if Charles Schultz owns the ownership or the rights, or his estate owns the rights to his voice. I don't know how that works, but I would think that Peter Robbins could have made a really healthy life just being the voice of Charlie Brown in the 60s.
You're super interested about that? Think about it. This guy was reading all these lines, right? He was reading the stories or the voice of Charlie Brown. And so, and on one hand, he's inundated with sort of the innocence and purity that is Charlie Brown, right? The authenticity. Mm-hmm. And that's what we see. And then on the other side, the rest of his life that is not the reading of Charlie Brown is this terrible mess. And you wonder if that saved him long enough or, kind of helped him hold on. Or you wonder, was it a constant reminder that his life was nowhere near where Charlie Brown, the character he's reading, was?
You're asking the question, could he have been, and he was 9 years old when he first started voicing Charlie Brown. You're saying, could there have been a direct or indirect correlation to some type of trauma that was brought on by the idea that he was reading the parts for a kid that just didn't have it together?
Yeah. I mean, possibly. Yes. I don't know, but possibly. This is some deep. Kurre and Klapow getting super deep right now.
Yeah, when he got out of prison, he mentioned that he was humbled, that there was a lot of humility, and that he became an advocate for people taking their bipolar medication. He was bipolar. Yeah. You and I have both known some people that are bipolar. It's amazing. One minute they seem like they're just so normal, the next minute they're like, why the hell did you do that? That's just, and it's just like it's night and day. Talk briefly about bipolar, because the one guy we keep talking about is Kanye. We know that he's got a bipolar disorder, and when he's running for president, we don't know. And I don't ever want to incite something that says, well, because he's come up with this idea, he must be off his meds. But something's not right there.
So bipolar is one of those situations, and bipolar is one of those conditions, and there are a lot of forms of bipolar. So basically, bipolar is people who experience highs and then it followed by sort of lows, depressive lows. And those highs can be anything from high energy, euphoria, feeling great, not necessarily jacked up, but just feeling good about themselves in the world. But it can go all the way, if you extend all the way in, to like agitation and paranoia. And then the lows can be just sort of feeling not a lot of energy, not so good, all the way down to suicidal depression. And the biggest problem with bipolar is if you find the right medication, it definitely will even it out. So there's less highs and less lows. But a lot of people experience two things. One, they miss the highs because the medication flattens them out too much. The other thing is if they're not on the right medication, they can't find the medication that works best for them. It makes them feel neither good nor bad, and there's a lot of side effects. So what you see is a lot of people with bipolar will go off their meds because they feel very flat and kind of, I don't get to experience the wonderful part about being high. But I'll tell you, somebody who's on their meds and it's working for them, and I would say this, you would be amazed at how many people you probably know or work with. It's not extremely common, but how you have no idea that they are bipolar and their condition is well managed.
How does a doctor acknowledge a person is bipolar as opposed to maybe just depressed, maybe moody?
Yeah.
Maybe they've got a lot of different things going on in their lives. They're kind of hot and cold. Maybe they have anger issues. I don't know what this is. Go ahead.
I mean, there's clear symptoms, if you will, and diagnostic signs. So the highs, somebody who experiences, big grandiose thoughts, they can become what we call hypersexual. They start making sort of impulsive moves. And we know lots of people who do that who are not bipolar, but then that is also followed by a period where they look depressed. They can't get out of bed. They look like somebody who has clinical depression. And when you see at least some history, Tony, of that, that's how you make the diagnosis. And listen, some people, it happens that the cycles of high to low can happen super fast, like within a month, sometimes even within a week, sometimes it's within 6 months. So there's clear signs. It'll get misdiagnosed sometimes, like you said, anger issues or just depression, but it's not that hard after a while to diagnose it. The problem is you got to get people to go in for help, and you got to get them to stay on their meds once they're diagnosed.
Dr. Josh, I love you. We'll podcast this later on tonight before Blues Almighty at 8 o'clock, and we'll catch up next Thursday. You and I are in talks about doing a brand new show again here on Tony Curry Radio. No, spicy, right? Hey, listen, maybe it could be sponsored by Quinn. You see where I'm working here? You see where I'm working here, dude? Let me know if when you write your first script for Quinn, if you need any editing, just like editing feedback, I'm happy to provide that for you as one of your best. And I want to go listen to a couple of these stories to get an idea, but I think it's better just to write my own right off the top. Maybe just come at it because I don't want to be influenced by someone else's story.
Here's what I would do. I would write it. Then I would go listen to one because it's exactly what you just said. Is you said it in the earliest part of this, which is you think you know what is erotic for her, but I would write it first and then find out if you know what's erotic for her by listening to one of the ones that a lot of people are following.
I'm going to go get really horny and start writing this afternoon. Thank you, brother. I love you.
Everybody. Love
you. Talk to you a little bit. There is Dr. Josh Klapow on the Kurre and Klapow show here on Tony Curry Radio.